Bobby, you got to pick one. Weights, cardio.
Man, that's tough. I kind of
No,
need, but you're right. It's not. We're picking weights. Why am I trying to overthink this? I was going to try to be slick. I was going to say I need cardiovascular exercise for sport performance. I need it for longevity. I need it for heart health. But let's face it, weights are way more fun. Weights will make you look better. Weights all day.
all day with the weights. Now, there have been a couple of studies that have come out recently that explore the benefits of weight training versus cardio. What's
Okay.
your take on that?
So in general, if I was to take the aggregate, I guess, of all these studies, if that's the proper term, cardiovascular exercise seems to help people lose weight faster because there's more of a calorie burn. Like when you look at the average person, and we're dealing with the average person here, right? We're not talking about a person that's doing weight training in terms of a CrossFit gym or circuit training or high performance weightlifting, if you will. The average person goes to your big box gym, an Equinox, a Lifetime, a Vasa, a Golds, whatever it is. They do 3 sets of 10 of 3 or 4 different exercises. They talk a lot and they go home, and the calorie burn is absolutely minimal. Yes, they showed up at the gym, but what do you think they burned? 100 calories, 150 calories? Like, there's nothing. On the other hand, if you walk at a reasonable pace for an hour, you're going to burn 400 calories. So cardiovascular fitness seems, just because of the nature of it, it seems to burn more fat because there's going to be a higher calorie burn. And that's just the way it's done. That said, there's an asterisk there, because if you did circuit training for an hour, you would burn more calories than walking. Therefore, you can make an argument that the weight training burned more calories and burned more fat than cardiovascular.
There's two thoughts come to my mind as you're explaining all that, which I think is great. But the first is, like, human nature is to try to do the minimum, right? So if all you have to do is go to the gym and pick 3 exercises, do 3 sets of 10, you're going to find a way to do that the most efficient way possible. That's like a survival thing that we're evolved to. So that makes sense. Most people are not going to go to the gym with the mindset that they're trying to challenge themselves to do more, right? They're going to try to do sort of that bare minimum, whether they think so or not. Additionally, talking about doing the cardio thing, all of those cardio machines, you have those numbers right there in your face.
Yep.
And so you do tend to gamify that of like, man, if I just increase the pace a little bit, you can see exactly how many more calories you're burning. And whether those things are accurate or not is almost irrelevant if it's consistent. If you're using the same elliptical or the same treadmill, and week over week, you're like, man, I can push this a little farther. I do think it's easier to burn more calories doing cardio than it is to push yourself into the discomfort necessary, burn more calories lifting weights.
And I want to add something too. Not only is it human nature and survival to try and look for the path of least resistance, but just on a psychological level, apart from the evolutionary kind of perspective, most people don't want to train. Like, think about that for a second. If people loved weight training, like they loved golf, like they loved fantasy football, I always say if a average man put as much effort into his physique as he did his fantasy football draft, no one would be unfit. The dad bod would be extinct. Like, that's the reality. So you already don't want to be at the gym. Guaranteed you're not going to set up a circuit and go balls to the wall and put yourself in an absolute hole. So that's why cardio just ends up being the default fat burner, if you will, because almost anybody can handle going for a walk. Here's another example I'll give you. Disney World. There's a lot of out of shape people that go to Disney World. I mean, there's a lot of people, period, that go to Disney World.
Yeah,
but not people. Everybody there is fit. You can take a person that's sedentary, that's 100 pounds overweight, and they can walk 10 kilometers at Disney World. Like, they can manage that. Person cannot manage an hour of genuinely hard, soul-crushing circuit training. Walking tends to be the lowest common denominator, if you will, because at some point you've got to walk, right? So we establish that, okay, cardio is going to burn you more fat, but that also doesn't mean it's necessarily better, Joe, because 2 reasons. 1, putting on muscle, which cardio is not going to do. You're going to have to do that through weight training. For every extra pound of muscle you have on your body, you'll burn 50 to 100 extra calories a day. So it's a protector for your metabolism, if you will. I would rather have you lift weights. Like we just used the walking example. Okay, an hour of walking is 400 calories. Well, if you can do the work and put on 5 to 10 pounds of extra muscle, you're going to burn that without the walking. So you're going to have a better metabolic drive, if you will. Number 2, being strong. And you talk about this all the time. It's a great predictor of longevity. Getting up and down your stairs, being able to shovel your driveway, being able to move things yourself, being able to get things out of your cupboard. And you might not think these are a problem. I'm not talking about you, Joe, the people watching this podcast. But I have a good friend, a training partner that's an occupational therapist. And I am kind of shocked the amount of people he visits in their 50s, in their 60s, in their late 40s that are essentially, they're not bedridden, but they're homebound. They can't get up and down the stairs. They can't get stuff out of their cupboard. They need help to do their laundry. They need devices to get themselves up and down off the toilet or in and out of the bathtub. Like a lot of his job is helping people shower because people have given up on the weights. And so, sure, the cardio is great for fat loss, but if you're looking for real health, if you're looking for functionality, if you're looking at longevity, the weights are the thing that are going to help with all that.
Yeah, there's a great word for where that story goes. And I use this when I ran the CrossFit gym for a long period of time, for years. And it is decrepitude. Because that is where you head if you don't do anything to avoid going there.
Yes.
You become decrepit. And that is why you end up in a nursing home. That's why you end up in assisted living, is because something has gotten to the point where you simply cannot live on your own. And so if your goal is to stay independent and to be, the master of your own fate when it comes to your life, you owe it to yourself to maintain the shoulder mobility and strength to open a cupboard and get the dishes out yourself.
Yep.
Because when you can't do that, you can't live independently anymore.
Well, my mom, it's actually funny you say this. My mom's going through this right now. She fell, she broke her ankle. I don't think I told you this, but she hasn't ever weight trained. And so she's got 2 bad legs. So now because she broke her ankle, she's in a wheelchair. She can't use crutches because she can't get around on them. She can't use that cart where you kneel because she can't get around on them. Whereas if somebody like me broke their ankle, I've got no problem hopping around on one leg or using crutches. It's much less of a burden. And that's one of the genuine examples, because people that don't lift weights, everything's fine when you're not hurt. But what happens when you blow your ACL? What happens when you break your ankle? And you might think you're immune to that because you don't play a contact sport or you don't do anything active, but you can slip, you can fall. You live in Minnesota. I live in Salt Lake.
Stories of people, I was just going to say, because I live in Minnesota, of people who are really fit people that ended up with like life-changing injuries because they slipped on the ice.
It happens.
I have a friend who gave herself a concussion walking out of her front door one time. It's like, it can happen
all the time. Like the amount of times I've slipped and lost my balance and ended up flat on my back in the driveway because of ice trying to shovel it. Like that's a real thing, but you step off a curb the wrong way. What if you get in a car accident? That's another thing that you have to come back from. So one kind of final thing to close this podcast, though, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I'm not saying don't do cardio. Neither of us is saying that. No.
I do cardio.
There are benefits for each. Cardiovascular is better for burning fat, and it's better for overall heart health. As a general rule, that's not always the case, because again, Joe, if you were doing circuit training with weights, you could make the argument that's better for fat burning and better for heart health. But overall, cardio is better, and all the studies say this, for fat burn and heart health. Weights are better for functionality, longevity, and we'll say quality of life when you're older. But it doesn't have to be. If you've made it this far, stop turning this into a or situation. Stop turning it into a, well, I just lift weights faster, I don't need cardio. Stop turning this into a, I don't want to be massively bulky, so I'm going to stay away from weights. You can't get massively bulky. In a perfect world, you would have a combination of both. Now, I don't know what the perfect split for that is. Weights 3 days a week, cardio 4 days a week, cardio 2 days a week.
There's a ton of ways that you can do different splits and different training tactics, but there is a limit to what you can recover from.
True.
You can train to improve that over time. If you're patient and you're consistent, you can improve that. There is a limit to what you can do when it comes to heavy training, but there isn't a limit as to how much you can walk.
No, I mean, theoretically, you can walk as humanly possible. There's male people who walk 10 to 12 kilometers a day, every day, as part of their job. And sure, on day one of the job, their feet hurt and their knees hurt. And they're, okay, great. But they get used to it. You can do as much as possible. And on that note, Joe, most people, when we talk about walking, they're not training to be elite level athletes. They're not training to compete. They don't need to do wind sprints. They don't need to do gassers. They're not training to play in the fourth quarter, the final 2 minutes of an NBA championship game. They're training to have basic cardiovascular health, and that can be all 100% accomplished from walking. We actually just had a discussion. There was a person on our ladder app that asked, how much cardio should they do in addition to the workouts? And I said, if you're doing the workouts and you're doing them right, you're pushing yourself a little bit, that will take care of all your high intensity needs. If all you did was walk for 30 minutes in the morning in the sun to get some sunshine, to get some vitamin D, to get some energy, to get your day started, that would literally cover off all your needs. And if you don't believe me, I've got a calculator here. I'm going to enter some numbers for you. If you were to walk 5 kilometers a day, that's roughly 3 miles. So 5 kilometers a day, 365 days of the year, you would accumulate 1,825 kilometers. I use kilometers because I'm better with the metric system. But 1,825 kilometers, Joe. We times that by 0.6 to get the miles. And now we're at 1,095 miles. Divided by 26.2, you would accumulate 41.7 marathons in a year. How long does it really take to walk 3 miles or 5 kilometers? Maybe an hour, listening to whatever podcast you want to listen to. You can put on, I don't know what shows you're into. Maybe you like the Hunting Wives. Maybe you like K-pop Demon Hunters. Joe, I feel like you're a Hunting Wives guy, by the way. Maybe you're watching season 5 of Stranger Things. And trust me, that show's an absolute trip. It's just, it's bonkers.
It's so good.
Want some fun. But whatever you're watching, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, like, I don't care. You can watch it on your phone while you walk. That's the beauty of it. And you will still accumulate the pace. Some people that don't like going outside, they have a walking pad. Some people have a treadmill in their house. Like, there's always a way to get that done. And if that's all you did, along with some weight training and watched your diet, because of course that's a part of the process as well, you would be well on your way to being the fittest person you know. I guarantee you. You see an unfit person, it's not because they got hit by like the bad genetics train. It's not because someone hates them or there's some secret they don't know. It's literally their activity is really low. That's all.
Yeah, they've settled. They've settled for where they're at. That's it.
Right? And if they had to walk for work, they'd be fit. If they had to walk for survival, they would be fit. Like, that is just a fact. So, weights versus cardio, ideally do both. You got to pick just one. I'm probably picking the weights, but it really shouldn't be like that because you can walk. That's it. Another episode of the Maximus podcast. Do me a favor. Go to the comments and tell us what you like better. Not what's better for you, what you like better. Weights or cardio. Subscribe, turn your notifications on. We'll see you for the next episode.